Hello and welcome to the Digitally Overwhelmed podcast. My name is Cynthia Pacheco, and I'm on a mission to help online businesses step out of digital overwhelm and step into their creative potential. This podcast is all about helping women get more in tune with the analytics and SEO side of their business without the digital burnout. Get more information about the podcast at digitalbloomiq.com. Hey, welcome to the Digitally Overwhelmed podcast. I'm Cynthia, your host, and I run Digital Bloom IQ, where I help health and wellness businesses get found in Google and heal more of the world. This is episode 139 of the podcast, and I'm super excited because I got to talk to Cassandra Vantriet. She is the owner of Woash Wellness, and this is actually a case study interview. So it's kind of like a fun hybrid interview actually, because we talk a lot about her business, her process. She does her own business coaching apart from her Woash teas. And we get into that in the interview quite a bit. But we also just talk about the experience she had with working with me through my own SEO process. And we talk about some of the results she's gotten from SEO and how not just her website traffic, but her sales have really been impacted by the process that I took her through. And something I pride myself in that I'm always thinking about and I'm always just obsessing about is the experience that clients have of doing SEO with me, because there are a lot of articles on the internet about SEO. And it's actually funny when you, as an SEO expert, when you rank in SEO, it's quite competitive, right? Because you're working against other experts who know how to rank. So it's kind of a weird thing to think about. But I am just so passionate about the SEO process being a nice experience. I've heard just so many horror stories of working with SEO agencies that they have bad communication, or the results aren't there, or it just feels like this alien thing. And I want the experience of working through your ranking and working through your website to be a very cozy and fun and exciting, intuitive, creative, encompassing experience that is very, very much in unison with what's going on in the rest of your business and the rest of your marketing. So we talk a lot about that. And for example, one of the things Cassy mentions is the writing process that I took her through and how it really changed and it shifted how she saw all the writing she was doing on her blog and on her website to attract new visitors. So it's a really fun interview and it's really inspiring. I love what she's doing. And I think she also has a lot of wisdom to share in terms of being a business owner online and being an entrepreneur and being vulnerable with our mistakes and being transparent with where we are in the journey. And I think that's why she's gotten such great results from SEO as well, because she's been open to trying uncomfortable things, but also super in touch with what she wants to do and her impact. So yes, I am really excited and I hope that you enjoy this interview with Cassy. Hey, Cassy, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Cynthia. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Having a quiet day, but I'm really excited to speak with you today. We've been working together it's been over like 6 to 8 months now, right?
8. Last time I counted. Wow, I was like, you've been a part of like the team for so long.
Yeah, and I just had you in my mind for at least a couple months now to bring you on the podcast, partly because of the great SEO results you've gotten, but also because I really appreciate your approach to business in general, and you've done certain things inside of your brand that have inspired me and gotten me to think about things. So I think you're just a great guest and a great use case. And yeah, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, likewise, you've taught me so much, and you've also taken so much off of my plate, which has been amazing. So yeah, no, I really appreciate you having me on and chatting with me today.
Yeah. So why don't we kick off with, why don't you go ahead and tell the audience a little bit about your brand and about, what you guys do.
Totally, yes. So I am the founder of Woash Wellness. We are a Vancouver-based loose leaf tea brand that bridges the gap between traditional herbal medicine and modern wellness. We aim to kind of encourage health-aware individuals nourish their bodies from within by carefully crafting like our loose leaf tea blends, by utilizing like their natural benefits and healing properties of each herb and each ingredient, to kind of nourish from within and really, encourage our community to become more intuitive about their practices and what they're putting inside their bodies, and kind of simplifying that process all at the same time. And just kind of encouraging people to, kind of get back to the roots of tea and herbalism and natural healing, and just like how we're surrounded by it in, especially here on the West Coast. You probably stumble upon and probably step on, plants that are so healing for different ailments, and that we all suffer from every day. So that's kind of where we come from, and kind of where it all started. And yeah, that's kind of Woash in a nutshell, I guess.
I love it. Yeah, it's so needed nowadays. People need to, find themselves, I guess, in a way. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on the podcast is I think you have a really great ability to identify not just what people need, but specifically in this time that we're living in, just this need to slow down and to like introspection and all that stuff. Just today I was reflecting, like I tend to personally look for answers externally, and I very externally based. And I was like, why do I do that? And I guess that's conditioning, it just kind of hit me. And I think that's very much connected with Woash.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely been, a learning process for myself personally and professionally. And yeah, like when I was starting Woash, it's really, I mean, at the end of the day, it's really about connecting people back to their bodies and that intuitive part. And I've really become a very strong believer in the past, little while along my journey and things that I've experienced about, we carry all the answers, everything that we need, everything our body needs, everything our body craves, and that's on like, kind of an emotional aspect plus a nourishment aspect, and physical. Like it kind of comes from like all of the different senses, and yeah, we all, everything that we need to know is all held within us. And I think we've just kind of lost that trust piece. Yeah. Again, it's conditioning. It really is. We've never been encouraged to, oh, hey, well, what's your body telling you? Listen to your body, or maybe check in with your body, or maybe get quiet. Like you don't need to know the answer right now. Like maybe you're the type of person that needs to wait 24 hours, or maybe you're the person that needs to wait like a full moon cycle, like whatever that is. Right. Yeah, that's kind of, I love that you said that, because we're definitely external people, and that comes from, like external validation, and, we want everyone's approval. And I just think times are changing, and we're definitely on the very early brink of everyone really getting to know themselves a lot more. And, we're in a time right now, COVID, where we're all kind of pressured to do that. So mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are being called to, kind of, we're actually being called to kind of rely on ourselves a lot more, which I think is really, really cool and really beautiful in the whole scheme of things. So,
yeah, this whole virus thing has really forced us to look at that stuff and tend to ourselves in many ways. And I also feel like there's a part of Woash that is all about slowing down, like your whole me time. You have a tea, and you have like a bunch of blog posts about people that you've interviewed with me time. And that's also, again, it feels so, there's something about it that's like fascinating, because it's like, why don't we see that as attractive? Why is there like again, this whole external thing is like the answers are outside us, and, read a book or, watch a movie or something. And I see that that's there, but what is it about just spending time internally that's hard? And anyway, tea connects really well with that idea.
Oh,
The
yeah,
whole experience of tea.
that's very twofold for me. Like it's me time. I mean, when you talked about, kind of who we interview on the blog. So I basically created a me time campaign. I think this was last September. And I just really wanted to create this safe space and this platform for people to share what I call them their me time moments. And when I kind of dug that as, and the definition that I interpret that as is like a pivotal moment along your journey that really made you go inward and make a choice that really like pivoted you like along your journey to kind of head into a different direction, basically. And
right.
I can't, and this kind of, we came up with this me time tea, and that's kind of where it all started. And I was like, the name of it, I was like, oh, this is great. It's great for marketing. People love it. It's their best selling tea. And it's basically, it's designed to kind of, help you, kind of encourage you to have that me time. And, even let alone that's just making the tea for that 5 to 10 minutes,
right.
Or it's like, it's an accent to your whole ritual where it's like you make your cup of me time, you're journaling or you're meditating, or maybe you're out on a walk in nature, whatever that looks like for you.
Right.
And yeah, our big driving theme is that like, everyone's me time and everyone's needs and kind of on every front is really going to look different for everybody. And so it kind of started there, and then it kind of escalated. Now we've basically created this online safe space for people to share their me time moments. And I just think there's so much can happen in those moments of reflection and like looking inward rather than outward, like you're saying. Because it's just, we've been basically shamed to, like, having me time has basically been shamed. Like, I bet majority, like maybe yourself, myself included, and maybe people listening are very like, the thought of having me time, there's an instant guilt there. There's an instant, like, I can't have that. I don't deserve it. I'm guilty, or like, what's my husband going to think, or what's my boyfriend going to think, or my partner? Are they going to judge me like that? It's like lazy time, or it's unnecessary, or whatever that looks like. So it's definitely been an interesting avenue to navigate through our brand. And I've learned so much, and it's been so cool to connect with people, especially through that platform, and hear people's moments. Like I ran into somebody who, actually her name's Mish Coles, I'll call her out. She's such an amazing human. And she basically shared a very vulnerable point, like pivotal moment of her life. And it was recent too. And she basically came up to me after, and she says, like, I thank you so much. She's like, that's the first time I ever shared that with anyone.
Wow.
And it gave me goosebumps. I was like, that was the intention of the platform, was that to create this space where people could share these moments, and then other people reading them could, connect with them and be like, and relate to them in some sort of avenue where, they saw themselves in that. And it just gives them that encouragement that, we're all in this together, and no one's alone. And, everyone's kind of, you never know. Like if you met her, you'd never know. So it's just so crazy to see and connect with people on this different level. So I love it.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. And I do relate to the guilt around my own time. And I think it's especially now because, well, I worked a lot from home before, but with the virus, my partner has been home more. And yeah, sometimes I'll finish work and I'll be like, I just want to do nothing. And it's hard. I will say though, I live in Argentina, Cassy, you know that. And here the culture is much more, there's a whole word that's called literally doing nothing on purpose. There's like a word for that.
Oh, I love that. I should move there.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons I think I live here, but basically it's just, the mate. Well, yeah, you know about mate, right? Like the tea that they drink here. Like there's a whole vibe around that of like slowly sipping it, and like there's a ritual and stuff. So it's the same vibe. And still, like, I still struggle with this after living, here for many years. But it is, I think it's, especially for women, it's something we struggle with because we're just wanting to be, I guess, productive, or we want to be useful. And it's hard to realize that that time of doing nothing, or doing on purpose, doing nothing, is actually very, very nice. And it can give back to you in so many ways.
Oh, for sure. I think it's so crucial for anyone's day-to-day practice, and mine has grown into a non-negotiable. I pretty much spend about, I'd say about an hour to an hour, for sure an hour and a half. Sometimes it lags into 2 hours every morning, and it's, my husband knows not to bug me, and it's just, yeah, it's my me time. And if I don't do it, like, I can tell throughout the day how differently it's set up my day, for sure. So it's just definitely become a non-negotiable, but it takes a lot of work and boundaries. Yeah. And because not everyone's going to really accept it. And I find whenever I'm like traveling or that, you kind of get knocked off course a bit, but you also got to give yourself grace for that. You can't, right. It's not an everyday, it can't always be an everyday thing, and you kind of got to give yourself that grace and compassion to be like, what, it's just not going to happen today, and that's totally fine.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Or it doesn't always look like we think it will. Like sometimes the me time might happen in the shower. Like I'm sure we've all had that experience of like, you just spend that extra 5 to 10 minutes. Like you're not really washing yourself. You're just sitting there or standing there. I love that time. So it doesn't always have to look like a meditative, like Buddha sort of thing. It could just be a walk, or maybe some time in the car alone. The car is like amazing, right? Because you literally are really alone.
Oh, totally. No, I love that you said that. And we're big believers over here at Woash that me time looks very different for everyone, and it will look different every day. Like my practice every day doesn't look the same. Like that's kind of where that intuitive piece comes in. I check in with myself. Am I seeking fresh air and that morning sunrise, or like an outside walk in nature, or am I really just needing to kind of rest longer? So maybe that's like a slow yoga stretch, and then maybe like a shavasana for a while with right. Like some binaural beats on. Like it looks so different every day. And again, I think that's where people again are seeking external. They're like, okay, what are these me time ideas, or what can I do, or what's everyone else doing, or what's the new trend? Journaling, meditating, what kind of yoga practice? It's kind of like we're always like, what's the new trend? But it's like, no, you need to go inward. Like, what does your body need? Is that rest? Is that maybe like a quite extraneous hike? Is it alone time? And sometimes me time can even look like being around people. If that's really what lights you up and really refuels you and recharges you when you're around people, then that's your me time. You just kind of got to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
So I love it.
Yeah, it's good. So I wanted to bring you on. One of the many reasons, obviously we have a lot to talk about, is that your site has had great results with the SEO work that we've done. And over the last 6 months, I looked up, and I'm going to include some of this data in the blog post that's going to accompany this podcast episode. But you've had over 100% traffic growth, and you've had an increase in your sales, your online sales. And yeah, we targeted those initial, just for everybody to understand kind of the work that we did. Initially, I guess, starting in September of last year, I guess it was, or August?
Yeah, we started October.
Oh, October. Yeah. Good. And we did, I did an initial audit. So that's the first step of the process. And basically I just looked at how your site was performing now. How old is your site now?
The website went live September 2018.
Okay. So it was a little bit over a year. Less than a year when we started. So the site didn't have too many errors or anything, but there were still a couple things to improve on. And then we just kicked off with your content strategy. And so that's the second phase, where we implemented a couple of different blog posts over the next couple of months. And now we're in kind of more of a monitoring phase, and we're still making a lot of changes slowly, but it's not as intensive maybe as that first moment. So I want to know kind of from your perspective, because I have, my whole process and my SEO nerd stuff happening, but like what parts of that process on your side did you find the most difficult, or yeah, just the most like, oh, okay, this is a little bit interesting. And then what other parts did you find like the most interesting or enlightening or inspiring?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much there. Again, you've kind of transformed our website for sure. I remember in the beginning, and like I've always known about SEO. I come from a business background, and I was always like, yeah, that's the thing. But like, anytime anyone hears SEO, like even me, I'm like, I just crumble. I'm like, nope, don't want to talk about it. Like, let's not. So, when I worked with a copywriter and she recommended you, I was like, oh my goodness, this is a game changer. If I can bring, an expert on who knows what they're doing, you focus in the health and wellness industry, which is amazing. And I was just like, I need you in my life. So it was such good timing for us as we were, it was kind of just coming into our second kind of, well, we launched in kind of busy season, let's say September, October, November. And then that was kind of rounding it out. So it was kind of near anniversary. And I think I was like, okay, this is the next phase. Like, I really want this, my goal was to make this website grow, and SEO is honestly where that's at and where that lies and where that growth comes from. So I was definitely really willing to, kind of take that leap and bring you on board to help dial that in. And yeah, the process, I mean, it's a lot. Like, you take off so much off of my plate, which was amazing. And that was like the intention. Like, I had done a couple, freebie courses or whatever on SEO, and I had learned a little bit, but it's kind of, it's not something that I love to do. It's not something I'm interested in, which is what makes you so great, because you love it and like it's your thing and you're so good at it. And, and that's kind of where everyone's expertise can kind of really play a pivotal role. And so yeah, kind of the process when we started, I'd say it was a lot initially, because it was like the audit and these websites, but then you were like, okay, I'm going to take, like, when you came to me with that audit, I was like, oh my God, what did I do myself? But then we're like, okay, like, I'm just explaining the process. And then it's because like you're very good about communicating those expectations of like, this is what's, because there's so much behind the scenes in SEO. Right. So
yeah.
You were so great at being like, hey, I'm going to take this whole bit and take it off your plate. I'm like, oh, thank God, I don't even need to even really look at it, let alone care.
Yeah.
So that was really great. I loved that bit. And then you're kind of like, okay, what's this content strategy? And what I actually learned really was like, I kind of thought blogging's dead. I was like, I don't really read blog posts that often. I don't, blogging, I found that it was like came in so strong, but now kind of social media has taken over. And what you really taught me was you're like, and kind of where I've landed. And I mean, this has taken, so long for me to kind of really get here. And I was just kind of reflecting on our SEO journey together. And it's kind of, how do I want to say this? I realized like how much more importance there is in the website, where before, about a year ago, I'd say I was leaning so much more on social media. And I've really fallen back on, and again, even through kind of coaching through like my other business, Wild, which we'll get into later, I'm sure, but I've really leaned into like, no, your website's like, that's your baby. Like, that's your store. Like, you're not competing against anyone on your website. So like, if you can get some like eyeballs on your website, like then you've got them, like you're capturing them. How are you going to make them stay? Where before I was like social media. And then the website was a landing page just to kind of just convert people and have the sale on, you know what I mean? So
right. Yeah.
I think you've really opened that up to me. You've really been like, there's so much more and so much more depth to a website that I really never knew about. And it also kind of made me reflect on like how I am as a consumer. It's like when I say I don't read blog posts, but then when I'm Googling things, I land on all these blog posts and I end up reading them. So then I was like, oh, wait, okay, like I do read blog posts. So yeah, that was really interesting to kind of really see how you can optimize and utilize your website as, this kind of, I want to say this like massive platform of like, you can educate people, you can teach people, you can create a space for them to, come on to. So like through that one blog, like that, through that portion of our blog posts, those me time moments, I bring other people into it and have, other people's stories on it. It doesn't just need to be whoosh, you know what I mean?
Right.
So there's just so many avenues of it, like, like implementing quizzes and, guides and how-tos and recipe. Like there's just so interactive on there.
Yeah.
And I never really realized that. But kind of to answer your question about kind of what I found was difficult was I don't consider myself a good writer, and I don't love to write. Like like when you're kind of like, yeah, write a blog post, I'm like, oh, here we go. So that was a lot to choose. Kind of like, here's your content strategy and you need to execute, so many blog posts. And I was like, whoa, okay. And I was like, okay, I hate writing. No, like I hate, like, and it's that initial kind of like kickoff, like, how do I start this? But you made it so easy in the sense of like the structure you built out for it. It's like, I really just needed to fill in the blanks and really just kind of, tap a little bit into my writing skills. And then you gave me such great tips when I literally couldn't deliver. I was like, nope, I don't feel like I haven't felt inspired. So you're kind of like, hey, why don't you try this or that? Or, heading to a coffee shop and just like block off even just an hour or 2 hours. And I remember the next day I did that after you recommended that to me, and I banged out a full blog post in like 2 hours, enjoyed a great cup of tea. And it was such a good blog post that I was so proud of. So you definitely helped me along the way to kind of get over those hurdles too. So, which was so great. I'm so thankful for it.
Thank you. I mean, that means a lot to me. And yeah, well, what did you find the most, I mean, anything else did you find kind of easier, or just, I mean, what I really am interested all the time with my clients is how to connect their SEO efforts and the SEO tasks we do to the rest of the marketing, because I think that's really where the success lies. And that's something you did really well. But what did you find like kind of opened your mind in general in your business?
Yeah, I mean, that was really eye-opening to see. Again, I think I just listened to another one of your podcasts, and I love that you guys said and said it was, your marketing's an ecosystem and SEO is just a portion of that.
Right.
And that really hit home. I was like, whoa. So SEO is just a portion. And then I need to basically do everything that we're creating in this SEO. I need it to kind of, bleed through the rest of it. And that's through social, and that's through the newsletter, and that's kind of through any contact or any outlet that I am trying to achieve to get in front of my ideal customers. And I think that was eye-opening, but it was also, it kind of was made me relieved, because it was, you're trying to generate so much content on Instagram,
Yeah.
and then content on Facebook, and then, Pinterest, whatever portals you're on, then your letter, and then you're trying to create, like your sorry, it's slipping my mind, just kind of like your promotional calendar, and just kind of like all these things. And it's like, okay, they don't all need to be like, what's this on this portal and what's this on this one. It's like, they all should be coinciding and working in like a circular motion, and they all should be tied together. So when we created stuff together, and through it that was SEO focused, it's like, whoa, now I have content for everything, which was amazing. So it kind of leaves that kind of, I'm trying to create so much content. It's like, no, like when you create this really amazing piece of content, it's like you need to bleed that through every avenue of your business, and really, really push it out and get it out there. So yeah, that was really eye-opening for sure.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's exactly what that's how I design the service. And it's the only way it's going to work the best, because especially when you have a baby site, you need to have all your market, or, you have to have some platforms that are pushing traffic intentionally, and that boosts up your ranking in Google. It's kind of like a chicken and egg thing, but it just works in unison. And a lot of people don't know that. They just kind of think you just publish and the people will come, and it doesn't happen like that. I
definitely thought that. I was like, oh, like I remember publishing the first podcast or the first blog post, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I never have to look at it again. Through our continued work now, you're like, okay, well, like maybe let's pop back into this blog post, and I'm like, no. But no, it's like, but but then I see value in, adding to it. And when you start seeing traction and when you start seeing, the analytics behind certain things performing, and I mean, that's kind of the name of the game. Again, the chicken and the egg. It's like we start seeing traction. So it's like, how can we beef that up? How can we make it better and serve our customers even more and better? Because clearly this is something that they're seeking. So how can we make this even a better experience for them? And I think that's kind of where we're at now, is kind of, we've gotten all this traction, and like some of the data that you were spitting off earlier is, it's been insane. Like even like our average order has gone up. It's about 200%.
Wow.
And like obviously the views on the website has been like tenfold. And just the amount of people like that stay on, like their length of time, just because now we have so much more content, and different content bleeds into another. So like their average, I don't know what that's called in technical.
Time spent.
Yeah.
Time
spent. And so it's just, then that's what kind of keeps you going. You're just kind of like, okay, I'm seeing all these numbers, and it makes it all worth it. It makes like, the content creation worth it, and all the time and effort you put into it. And now I find myself like always tweaking things on my website. I'm always like, ooh, how can I make this? So now, it's definitely gotten to a point where I really, I do really enjoy it. Yeah. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been cool creating, new posts, and kind of coming from that intuitive approach of, what I feel like writing a blog post on, and, where's my community at currently, and, what have they been reaching out to our brand for? And it's kind of like, okay, that's perfect content to create for them. Clearly they're needing it. So let's deliver it. So. Right.
Yeah. I want to take a step back and talk about what you were saying about blogging is dead. And I think that's it's such a good way to put it. I've written about that before, but, what's it called? I think that, okay, so there's a couple things I want to say there. So yes, blogging has changed quite a bit. Like, I think at least my generation, I have memories of using like a platform called Blogger, and you would like go on there and like write your little secret thoughts. It was like a personal diary. And now that still exists. Like there's still people who blog kind of from a very personal point of view. But if we're talking about blogging for business, it is very, very different. And I think the relationship that people have with blogs and websites has changed. And so that's why it feels like blogging is dead.
Sure.
And what I say to my clients is, there's 3.5 billion searches per day. And I can guarantee you that some of those searches are related to whatever you're selling. And so when I think about SEO, I think about how are we just answering people's questions through what they're asking about. And so you can separate, and what I've done with you and with all my clients is I give you the opportunity to just blog and write about whatever you feel like writing. And you've done that really well. Like when all this COVID-19 stuff started happening, you came to me and you're like, I really want to write about our immunity blend. I didn't give you that keyword. That came 100% from you. We later added keywords and optimized it from an SEO point of view, but you felt called, and that came from a creative and intuitive side. And that, so kind of separating that actually liberates creativity, right? Instead of saying every single post has to have these SEO structures and these SEO rules, that feels so like, even for me, that feels like just not like fun at all. And instead you can separate, say, okay, we're going to create blog posts that are based off keywords, but you also get to write about whatever, your audience needs. And if there's some crossover, great. But I think that's the key to doing SEO, right? It's not about making and I'm sure there'll be some SEO experts out there who might disagree with me. But I feel like most people, we just don't think about the rules, and why should you feel restricted, right? You want the creation of your website and adding content to your website to be a fun experience that generates even more ideas. And so that's like my goal. If I can get you to a place where you're feeling good about that, then I feel like the rest gets taken care of along the way.
I totally agree. I love that you kind of said again, it's that external piece. It's like, it's like these rules and these guidelines that have, probably been here for centuries. But again, I think we're on this brink of or at least I am. And I don't know. I feel like people are with me, but who really knows? But again, I think like my kind of current theme right now is like, be playful outside of the lines. And I think that's real creativity happens. And that's when real kind of authenticness happens, and people will notice that. And I think just because everything's so diluted now, like there's so many brands and so many people on Instagram and so many, so many websites, so many companies and all this stuff. And it's like, how can you be different? And it's like, well, again, go inward. Like what's serving you right now? What's lighting you up right now? And again, me as my brand, like I have a product-based business, but whatever I'm suffering with right now, I'm sure, a lot of my community is my community can relate to me. Like that, that's kind of why they've, jumped on board. I've created these blends from my own experience and my own, need for them. And, people have related to that. And that's kind of where it all stems from. So it's like, if I can be open and honest about what I'm going through, on a personal, on even on a personal or professional side. And it's like, how I'm sure people can relate to that. So it's always going to be an experiment. It's always going to be super playful. And again, I think it's about getting a little messy and playful in it, because like who said we had to, again, probably, I want to say like a lot of the SEO people are going to say, no, like it's this keyword, this keyword, this keyword, those ones that are, probably tracking right now. That's cool and all, but that doesn't light me up or align with my brand. So no, I'm not going to write about something that doesn't light me up or serve me and my brand at all. So I think, you can be a bit more intuitive about what you're putting out. People are going to notice. So
I always say they're the people who are, who's going to buy your product or service. It's another human, and humans connect with other humans. It's your humanness that's going to generate that sale. And yes, like Google, we look at Google, like we look at how they scroll or rank our sites. Like there's all these like rules, but at the end of the day, even Google says to us, like, don't worry so much about me, like write great blog posts, create websites for other humans. So I think that there is a very robotic and number focused part of SEO. And that's the part that I like to just take off the plate of my clients so that they can feel more, just like tap into this intuitive side. Of course, some awareness has to happen. So I send you your monthly reports and there's a bunch of numbers in there, and that's good. But I feel like a lot of SEO experts, like my critique was that they give way too much data. Like I've seen other reports and stuff, and they're literally vomiting up numbers. And it's like, people don't care about that. They just want to know, like, how can I increase my sales? Like, how can I improve my website? And anyway, that's like my little rant, but I
totally agree. Yeah. I mean, kind of from what you said, it's like, you really do create the space for me to be able to just create from that level. Whereas like, I don't need to go, hunting down my analytics. Like I emailed you the other day. I was like, I don't even know how to get on my Google. I was like, help me. Like, so just, you've just kind of, and again, you need to be in tune with that. And so I like, and again, those are where like you deliver this report to me and I'm like, okay, this is what I need to know. And this is what, and then I can, we can dive into that more if I feel called to, like, if numbers are interesting me, it's just like, hey, let's chat about my numbers or my analytics this month or whatever that looks like. But yeah, you really do create this space for me to, just kind of do what I like to do, which is great. And that's, I think, what's so great about bringing people on that are experts in their lane. And, I don't need to learn and tackle, SEO. That's what you're here for. And that's what you do so well, and you're lit up by it. So I don't have to be.
Yeah, I love it. So let's talk a moment about Wild, because I think that's also a big part of this conversation. So why don't you tell people what Wild is and a little bit how that got started?
Yeah, so Wild came to be, it's actually Wild Business Consulting. It came to be about less than a year into launching Woash, so which was a bit crazy. And again, I felt super called to do it. I just had a lot of people reaching out to me and being like, how did you launch your business in 5 months? How did you do this? You know, where do I start? Da, da, da. So I kind of saw this niche in the market. I was just kind of like, people are seeking help when, you know, launching a business is so daunting. It's such a big task and there's so many elements and aspects to it. And it's kind of, you know, if you have a small budget but you're passionate and you just have an idea and you're just like, the world needs this, or you feel really called to launch this into the community, like, you know, I 100%, there's enough business and enough room for everyone. So don't ever be discouraged. Like, oh, you know, I launch a tea business in the most highly saturated market out there, like probably next to coffee. I think if you actually look up the stats, more people drink tea in the world than coffee. And
right.
So again, like, who was I to do that? And it honestly just came because that's like, I felt like I had something different to offer, and that was through my personal experience. So,
right.
People kind of kept messaging me, and I kept meeting with a lot of people. I was like, there's something here. So, I ended up kind of just getting really, again, intuitive and quiet with myself and being like, what does this process look like? And how did I do it? And I really had to kind of reflect on what those crazy 5 months look like. And I ended up actually creating like a 10-step program. It's super simplified. It's like actionable, achievable steps. They're just so approachable, and it really just kind of simplifies the entire process of launching a business, and also just gets you really clear. So, and this also can kind of go into like pivoting your business too. So, it's basically created with like different workshops, and they're all probing questions. And then I work one-on-one with people if they need that kind of extra hand to, kind of bounce ideas off of me, that sounding board, and kind of being that a little bit of a guiding light. And I think what makes this super unique and beneficial is the fact that I just went through it. And right. It's so fresh in my mind that I can relate. Like when I work one-on-one with people, it's so cool that what they're going through, I was like not there just like not too long ago. And then it's like, so I just can relate on such a deeper level than someone, let's say they own, like a multi-million-dollar company and they launched it, however many years ago, and they're trying to mentor you and coach you. They're not going to understand where you're at. So that's kind of where it started and how it came to be. And it's also kind of, it's a creative outlet for me. It helps me. It's just kind of this other passion of mine. So like Woash is kind of this piece where I get to be really creative with like creating tangible and like really cool products and this kind of lifestyle brand and this experience for people, and really getting people connected back to nature and those healing modalities and creating this kind of, lifestyle around slowing down and, kind of connecting back to your roots a little bit. And then Wild's like this creative outlet of mine where I get to share all the nitty gritty and like this wild ride behind Woash and what's going on. And something that I love so much is to share what's like currently going on. It's not about like, oh yeah, a year ago, like we had this many whatever sales and now we have this many. It's like, this is what I'm currently doing to, kind of grow that. And it's really like kind of, in real time, I want to say is that's kind of how I like to share it. And that's what really lights me up about it. So to kind of take people along for that ride, because, I'm sure majority of businesses can relate to where I'm at. And it always frustrated me so much that like any sort of, mentor or all these people that are so inspiring that we look up to, they're great to kind of see like, where's our goals, where we're headed. But again, it's always like they talk about it from an aspect of I'm here and you're way back here. Right. I've made it and you're way back here. This is how I did it. But again, another thing that I really believe, and this shows up a lot in Wild, is, and where I encourage people and where a lot of my workshops tailor to, is what my success looks like is not going to look like your success. I don't even care if you have a tea business that literally looks identical to mine. My trajectory to success will be so different than yours. And if you don't own that and really like lean into that, you're not going to get there. And that was kind of the biggest learning curve, I want to say, probably heading into year 2 of business, was like, again, that whole external piece, you're looking at other brands being like, I want to be there. I want to get there. How did they do it?
Yeah.
And I think that's honestly the worst approach you could have. It's like, no, it's like, what are your innate skills? Like, what are you really, really good at? Because that's where you're going to excel in your business, and that's what's going to move your business forward.
Right.
And when I really started to lean into that, heading into year 2, that was a big reflection piece right there, and a big pivot in my business actually. And that's kind of that's actually right when we started working together too. And I was like, whoa, wait, like I was following these people's footsteps, basically treading water, trying to keep my head above water, and it wasn't working. So I was like, whoa, what's next? What do I actually want? And that's where this big pivot came into. And yeah, like I feel like I feel so just in line of where my business is headed and where I'm headed personally. And even juggling these 2 businesses is crazy in itself. But they just work for me. I don't know. They both, and again, that kind of speaks to like being multi-passionate. I find a lot of people don't start a business because they are always debating, which idea is best, or I love so many things. It's like, okay, we'll do them all, but like, start somewhere. Start here. And I never really knew that I think I always I love connecting with people, and I love, kind of helping people and coaching people. And I think I innately have a very different perspective on things. I always have a bird's eye view of everything, where I think a lot of people are very in things. And again, we're all just so unique. And yeah, so I just I never would have thought that I would have started this less than a year into Woash, but it happened. And it's, I love them both equally. They both light me up in such different ways.
I love that. Thanks for sharing all that. And I so agree that sometimes we end up doing this whole merry-go-round of realizing that our initial idea, our initial instinct was right on. And we have to like go and like try different things or like listen to different speakers. And then we're like, oh, I can start, 2 businesses and run them at the same time. Or like, I'm allowed, literally, there's just a million combinations of success. And the only thing we need to worry about is our combination. And that's hard. It's hard because, it's scary. It's scary. For some reason, we're so scared of this inside intuition that sometimes we're not really sure how to listen to it or trust it. But at the end of the day, this is really the gold. And it's something I keep coming back to, that, yeah, it's not good to compare, but it's just so human, right? We're just
totally. That's just kind of how we've been. Yeah, it's like how we've been kind of conditioned and raised. And it's always like, what, and that's on, like, even if you think of the school system, it's like, so we're all doing the same test. And like I did so bad in high school. Like it was so like I kind of came out of there being like, I don't even know if I'm not smart, I'm not good at anything. Like I was never excelled at anything in high school. But then like, after my 10-year, journey of seeking my purpose, and a lot of traveling and a lot of soul searching and a lot of trial and error, and again, all of those pieces were part of the lessons that I needed to learn to kind of get to this space of,
right.
I know, the answers, and if I listen to myself and listen to, what lights me up and where I'm headed, that's where the gold is. And that's what's going to make me different, or else it's going to be competing kind of tirelessly with everybody else, I think. So
absolutely. Yeah. I love it. Well, I really appreciate your transparency. And I think that's what makes Wild, this Wild ride, very, very inspiring, because I totally agree. I feel like when you're starting, you just need a different fire by you. And a lot of people, when they're farther along, I think what I've grown to understand is that it's good to have different resources and different voices, in your arsenal of your toolkit, so I used to be very much like, there's one coach I follow, or there's one thing, and this is everything. And now I'm like, no, there's actually like this array of people I follow. And depending on what I'm needing in the moment, someone's going to give me a little bit more of that vibe or that energy. And then of course, tuning in and not following anybody sometimes, just unsubscribing and doing like a little bit of insulation of like what's my truth. Because again, especially at the beginning, it's so easy to like absorb different, and I think that's kind of part of the process. You absorb and you integrate, and then you discover your own voice. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't follow anybody, But there's like, yeah, it's underrated, kind of just sitting quietly and, or not quietly, and listening to our own truths and experimenting from that place instead of just looking externally.
Oh yeah, I love that you said too, like, sometimes you need to kind of mute them all. And that was a big thing for me. I was following a lot of brands, and it got to a point where I was like, oh, I'm not inspired with the post. Oh, I'll just go check what they've posted and like
Right.
which like makes, kind of made me laugh or
Yeah.
something that I've been reading. And then I try to like recopy it. I'm like, this isn't how this works. So I love that you kind of, you did like that whole absorbing part. And I think it's, again, with Wild, it's like, I want to share that, if you start, if you can start this and hone your innate skills early on in the beginning of your business, I mean, you're already ahead of the game by 1,000. Because like even me, I spent my first year of business, kind of, following a lot of other people, trying to, do their steps. And that was a big learning curve for me. And then it was like, okay, now what's next? And then that was that reflection in, and I had to mute and block and delete a lot of people.
Yeah.
Just kind of, I love the saying of like, create before you creep or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think that there's so much to be said there. So I think it's a balance of both. And I love that you said too, about, like have a plethora of people that you follow and, in all different avenues. And I think we can, you can relate to a little bit of everything. And kind of when you pick something up from someone, just kind of do a quick check-in, like, does this align with me and my brand, or do I just want it because because of again, that external validation because of where she's at, and I think, and I believe that that's how that's going to get me there. It's like, no, does it align with your values of your business and what you stand for, and again, your innate skills? You're only going to be really good at what your innate skills are. And yeah, so
love it. All right. So to just wrap up a little bit, so what would be like, just kind of culminating everything we talked about? I know we talked about a lot of stuff, but what would you say to someone who is starting a business? They're maybe in the first couple of months, and they're thinking about doing SEO, but they're thinking about all their marketing and just the whole picture. What would you say is like one piece of advice? And it doesn't have to be something like go like start a blog or something, maybe something more like internal work. But what would you say to someone who's feeling like a little lost or just kind of all over the place?
I think my number one piece of advice for anyone kind of in the new stage of being a business is, and this is an exercise, actually it'll be a freebie soon, so stay tuned.
Wow, exciting.
But is just honestly get really honest with yourself about what do you like doing? What do you hate doing?
Right.
Where do you spend your like, where do you find yourself like thinking about most, or, dreaming about most, or what inspires you the most? And also, again, the opposite, like, what do you really dislike? What are the aspects of your business that sit on your to-do list and they sit on there forever and ever and ever because you don't like doing them? This is going to kind of be like that first stepping stone of really getting to know who you are as a business owner and who you are within your business. And when you can really lean into what you are good at and stick to that and kind of, really optimize and utilize your innate skills. And again, I say innate because it's like you are very, very good at probably a variety of things, but if you don't know what those are, and again, it's often most of my clients that I work with, they overlook it completely because these tasks and this ability comes so easy to them that they think everybody is the same because it's innate to them. And I think that's kind of always our big breakthroughs is when I pointed something out, because again, I come from this bird's eye view and this outside perspective of I make them work through a bunch of workshops and questionnaires and stuff, and I can start seeing threads through it.
Right.
And so if you kind of create this practice for yourself and just really get honest about what you like doing and what you don't, and lean into that within your business, stay in your own lane and stay in your own zone. And then, I mean, for me, and again, I know so many businesses are like, I don't have the budget for that or whatever, but again, I didn't really have the budget for it, but I made it work.
Yeah.
And outsource the things that you don't like doing. If they can be done by someone better that, again, are their innate skills, they're going to do it 100 times better than you're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to open up so much space within your business to be able to, you know, stay in your own lane and do those things that you love doing. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess kind of, does that make sense? Or do you kind of want to?
No, that totally makes sense. And I feel like when you identify those things, it not only liberates a lot of energy, you just, I don't know, you're more productive. The other person helps you grow, so you end up making more money anyway. Like, we sometimes just feel like, yeah, we have to do it all. And it's kind of normal because it's like your baby and there's like this possessive thing happening. But I agree. That's good.
Yeah.
It's great.
I think probably one last thing I want to leave people with, again, and this kind of falls into like the outsourcing and bringing people on that are, you know, good in those areas that you don't like doing is, and I get with that kind of trust piece because it's your baby and you really, you know, you're just kind of like, do I trust them? Are they even going to get it? Are they even going to be able to produce? And kind of just whenever you're bringing somebody on, like really make sure that they're in line with your values and that they have the same interests as you. Like for you, like you focus on health and wellness businesses and again, and then I noticed that your innate skills are SEO and numbers and analytics and like that data portion. And I'm like, okay, you're the perfect candidate to bring onto my business. So it's kind of do your due diligence. It's not just like, you know, going to that big, well-known place or that person that your friend recommended. Maybe they don't align with your business, but they align with your friends. So again, being super honest with yourself and figuring out what is in line. I think it all comes back to our own personal values for sure at the end of the day.
Right. Like it. Cool. So where can people hang out with you? I'll include all your website and your Instagram and all that in the show notes, but is there anything specific you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, well, there's so many places. So you can connect with me on Woash's Instagram. So that's WOASH Wellness. And then also if you want to connect more on the business front and reach out about anything business-wise, I just love to chat anyways. So just reach out. That's for the Wild Business Consulting. And that's actually at Wild with a Y. So WYLD, Ride, RIDE. On Instagram. So either of those you can definitely connect. I think probably a new and exciting announcement is that I will be launching our Wild website in about hopefully this coming week. And then you're going to be able to find so many just like free resources. You're going to be able to access the workshops and the 10 steps. And then you're going to, so if you're ever thinking about launching a business or pivoting or just you kind of feel lost in your business right now, that will be, hopefully a really great resource for you. That's definitely affordable and accessible and will definitely kind of kickstart you and on your kind of trajectory of getting that done. So I think that's it.
Awesome. I will, if the website's ready by the time that this goes live, I'll definitely share that as well. But Amazing. This was really, really great. Thank you so much, Cassy.
Thank you for having me. It was so nice chatting with you.
Hey, this is Cynthia, and I wanted to once again thank you so much for coming on and listening to this episode of the Digitally Overwhelmed podcast. I spend a lot of time creating these episodes and editing them and publishing them. So I would love for you to leave me a review, whatever platform you're listening to your podcast on, whether it's iTunes or something else. Go ahead and click on that review bar, give me some stars, and leave a little comment. That really helps other people just like you find the podcast and just helps them grow their business. And if you want to find out more about this episode and more about what I do, get links from the show notes that we mentioned in this episode, you could head on over to digitalbloomIQ.com/podcast. And there, the latest podcast should be published. If not, you'll need to scroll through and find your podcast number. Thank you so much for listening again, and I'll catch you on the next episode of the Digitally Overwhelmed podcast. Bye.